What is up, Insaners? How are you guys doing? Welcome to our first ever Euro 2020 team selection video. Yes, we are here with our Matchday 1 team selection. Guys, we'll also be talking about the best captaincy options for different days of Matchday 1. And then we'll end our video by talking about a chip strategy and the different strategies that you can go for. This is going to be a super important video, guys, as we will help you get the best possible start to the Euro 2020 fantasy tournament. We already have done a few videos on the rules and the best players to target from groups A to F. If you want, you can check those out. I have mentioned the links in the description below. We're also doing daily Euro content on our Instagram page, Insanely Football. So guys, make sure you check that out as well. One last thing before we start the video today. If you like what you see, please give this video a like, guys. You can also consider subscribing to our YouTube channel and pressing that bell icon. That'll help you get notified to as and when we launch a new video. Great, so let's get into our team selection then. So the way we've approached this is by getting a structure in place. I think it's really important to have a process around your team selection before picking up your final set of players. Of course, the pointers could slightly be different for you, but make sure you have some thinking points before you start. Guys, we've gone ahead with a team which gives us multiple captaincy options, ideally at least one on each day, in case if any of our captaincy punts don't work. Now guys, obviously we don't want that, but this gives us flexibility and multiple chances of getting it right. Now you can go ahead with one or even two standout picks, but then that limits your score if those players blank. And that is a huge issue, guys. We personally have gone for quite a premium forward line. Now the options available to you are playing with two premium forwards as well. That gives you a chance of investing more cash in midfield or even defense, but the amount of good premium options are limited, and that's the reason I've gone for three instead. One thing to note is that if you want to go a bit differential, then probably going for a cheaper third attacker would be the way to do it. Now this will also decide whether you're going for a cheap defense like me or you want to invest more going for the higher upside that these expensive defenders will give you. Again guys, there is no right or wrong strategy here, it's just how you want to play the game. One last thing before we talk about our team, it's important to decide whether to spread your cash equally and have a decently strong bench or go heavy in terms of your playing 11 and not invest too much in your bench. I personally feel it's good to have a decent all-around squad rather than just your 11, as this game is slightly different from FPL and you're allowed to change your captains and make substitutions as well. Guys, if you have all of these points thought through, I think you'll be in a very good place to get that right squad. Great, now let's get into our team then. Just a small note before we begin, guys, though this team is almost final, it'll still depend on Italy's starting lineup and whether Berardi plays or not. Now we have a couple of alternate plans which we'll talk about a little later in the video as well. So the first thing that you'll notice here is that we're going with a very cheap defense, guys. Our most expensive player is Szczesny, who's a playing goalkeeper for now. Our other goalkeeper is Hradecki, who's the cheapest playing goalkeeper in the game. Now he's also the most owned. So Szczesny is playing Slovakia and there are chances of a clean sheet in this game. Hradecki on the other hand has a slightly tougher game against Denmark, but guys, we have him on standby just in case we need to make that switch. In terms of our defense, we have three cheap defenders and we are playing a 3-4-3. I think this formation allows us to attack more rather than just banking on an additional defender for a clean sheet or even an attacking return. Now guys, we have Joachim Mail, Jason Denayer and Pau Torres as our starting defenders. Now Mail plays a lot further forward and he's got attacking returns in recent games as well. I know a lot of managers are going for Simon Kier, but I know my team is pretty template and this is probably a good way to differentiate from the crowd. Now that said, we'll go for the more attacking option in Mail. As the next defender is Jason Denayer, and it looks like that he's nailed his place in the Belgium's 3-man central defense. Now that makes him a bargain option and a pretty good defense. Belgium are fancy to go far in the tournament and they've just conceded 3 goals in their qualifying campaign, guys. Don't be surprised if they keep a lot of clean sheets in the tournament. And Denayer, though being really popular, is the right one to go for in my opinion. Our final playing defender is Torres. He's Pau Torres from Spain. He's had a really strong last few games. He looks to be ahead of Eric Garcia in the pecking order and has linked up well with Laporte in the heart of Spain's defense. Again guys, he's not a fullback, so the attacking threat is limited to goals from corners and free kicks, which are rare, but still a decent pick in a strong Spain defense. So as you've made out already, all 4.5 million defenders who should be starting in their respective games. Guys, all of them represent good defenses. I mean, you expect Denmark, Belgium and Spain to keep a clean sheet on matchday 1. I feel there are more attacking options with higher upside in other teams, but then it's taking a big chance and hoping that those guys get attacking additional returns. Of course, you can look at options like Munier, Castagna from Belgium, again depending on who starts. Then there's Jordi Alba from Spain as well. Guys, I don't think so they're worth the extra money especially considering that there are no bonus points in this game. On the bench, we have Windel and Alioski right now. Both again are really good attacking defenders, playing as a left wing back and left back. This also means that there's a good chance for both to get attacking returns from their games. Of course, guys, Ukraine against the Dutch won't be pushovers, but there's still a chance of Windel getting something from that game. Alioski is also a good pick. He's on penalties for North Macedonia and looks to be their main man. Austria don't have the strongest of defenses, so going for him I think makes sense. Now coming to our midfield, guys, and it looks pretty balanced with a couple of mid-range premium-ish sort of players with some really value options in the mix as well. Christian Eriksen and Xherdan Shaqiri are both talismans for their countries. They make the midfield and attack tick for their teams, guys. I feel both have decent first games playing Finland and Wales. Now they both surprisingly are quite differential with a combined ownership of only 8% at the time of recording this video, guys. That's very less. That's super low to be very honest, and this gives us a good platform to begin our Euro 2020 campaign. Now guys, with Eriksen you could argue that he hasn't been in the best of form for over 2 years at the club level, but I think he still always turns up pretty well for international games. The big plus for me here is that he's also on penalties and set pieces, so that really increases appeal by a great deal. Coming to Shaqiri against Wales, yeah, I can understand it's a debatable one. He's still pretty nailed in the Swiss team, plus he's on free kicks and corners as well. I think he's been overlooked by the majority of managers in the fantasy game, and that probably makes him a really good pick for us. I also understand why a lot of people haven't gone for Shaqiri, because the Wales defense has significantly improved, but I still feel Shaqiri has all the qualities to get something from that game. Now guys, we also have Ferran Torres in our squad, who has to be one of the most exciting players that I'm looking forward to in Euro 2020. He was not a regular starter for Man City, but he hit top form towards the end of last season. His form internationally has been quite better, guys. He scored 6 goals in his 10 caps, and that makes him one of the most appealing options from the Spain attack. Guys, he also looks nailed on in the team, and his ownership right now is only around 11%. Now, I won't call that high, but this can definitely increase before the start of Matchday 1. Our other two midfielders are value picks in David Alaba from Austria and Berardi from Italy. Now Alaba plays a lot higher up in midfield as compared to his centre-back role at the club level, plus he's one of Austria's main players, guys. Another plus of having him is that he's on free kicks and corners. Now to top it all off, his price of 5.5 million is pretty good, especially as a backup player who has a decent fixture against North Macedonia. Guys, our final midfield pick is a slightly risky one. Now we've gone ahead with Berardi. I know a lot of people had Chiesa in their teams in their early drafts, but it looks like Berardi would get the nod ahead of Chiesa. Again, I still can't say that with 100% surety, but the best part is that we'll see that Italy's team sheet before the deadline, and that really helps to get the final team sorted, guys. Also, one thing is for sure, there's no doubt that Berardi is a great player. He's expected to feature prominently from the right side of the team. He's very much capable of making those lovely runs, guys, and he also cuts onto his left foot and takes a shot. Looks like a real player to me. Coming to our attack, now guys, we've gone all in with 3 premium strikers in Cristiano Ronaldo, Memphis Depay and Romelu Lukaku. All 3 have really good games and are expected to do well on Matchday 1. The only big downside to having all premium options is that these players are highly owned, but again, how prominent is this combination is a bit of an unknown right now. Also, with me using the Limitless chip in Game Week 2, and I'll talk about the chip strategy very soon, it's a good strategy to go for Ronaldo against Hungary. Now this way we play him in the easiest fixture and avoid him for games against France and possibly Germany. Of course he can score in those games too, guys, but it's just that we have better options to go for. He's also on penalties for Portugal, and that's a huge bonus. Plus hopefully this should be his last Euro campaign, guys, and he would want to leave in style. Our second player is Lukaku, guys. He will definitely lead the line for Belgium. He's also a strong contender for the Golden Boot as well, and should be Belgium's most attacking player with KDB doubtful for the first game and Eden Hazard not in great touch. Guys, Lukaku is also on penalties, and he's had an exceptional season with the Serie A champions Inter Milan and has an excellent international record as well. Our final player in the team is the Dutch striker Memphis Depay. He will lead the attack for Netherlands. Guys, the Lyon striker enjoyed a fine spell of form. He scored 20 goals and also gave 10 assists in League 1. Apart from that, he's also had 13 goal involvements in Euro qualifiers. That's only behind Harry Kane and Raheem Sterling of England. Guys, it's pretty impressive to be honest. He'll also be on set pieces as well and penalties, and is the first name to cross the mind when the men in orange would score. So that is our team for Matchday 1, guys. Now most of it is pretty solid, but in case Berardi doesn't start, then we have a few alternate plans in mind. Now guys, in place of Berardi, we can go for Elif Elmas from North Macedonia. Again, this is only in case Berardi doesn't start. Both players are 6 million. But the most interesting thing is that Elmas' ownership is 0% in the game, guys. Literally, nobody owns him in the game. And that's going to be a huge plus for us if he performs well. Now, some people will say that his ownership is hardly anything, that means he's not a player worth going for. Yes, that could be true. Again, it's a huge risk as he'll be transferred out on matchday 3 as well when he faces Netherlands. But again, the matchup against Austria could get him something for sure. Now, guys, the other option to go for is someone like a Zielinski, who's Poland's playmaker, and he's had a decent domestic season in Serie A, scoring 8 goals and providing 10 assists. Now, the problem with him as a pick is that he's 1 million more than Berardi, guys, and we'll have to make up for that 1 million by downgrading one of Eriksen or Shaqiri. I think downgrading Eriksen is a lot easier as we have the likes of Wijnaldum or even Insigne as backup options. They're both nailed on players in attacking positions for the teams, guys, and we can go for both of them. Overall, I think I'm pretty happy with the team, as the only thing that is missing is probably an Italian defender, and if Bastoni starts ahead of the deadline, we might just get him in for Alioski. So let me know what you think about this team. Do you feel that we can have better players in this team in any positions? I would love to know your thoughts. Great, now let's get into the captaincy options for matchday 1. Now guys, there are a lot of options to go for in terms of captaincy for matchday 1. Now we'll take it day wise, starting from day 1. There's only one fixture to target on day 1, that is Italy versus Turkey. And though there are a few options from the Italians, guys, the captaincy is going to be spread around quite a bit. Guys, the best options in my opinion are Immobile and Insigne. Both look pretty nailed, but their price tags and availability of better alternatives would limit their ownership. Guys, I also might end up having not any of them in my team, and in that case, my go-to captain would be Berardi for day 1. You can also go for a defender if you have the likes of Spinazzola or even Bonucci in your team, but I would avoid making Donnarumma as my captain. But again, if he's the only player you have from Italy in day 1, then probably it makes sense for you to captain him in that match. Guys, do remember to change him though, as I'm sure there'll be a lot of players in your team who get more points than him. Coming to day 2 captaincy options, it is between Denmark and Belgium. The teams that they are up against are Finland and Russia, guys. That spells really good chances for both Christian Eriksen and Romelu Lukaku to do well. They are of course the team's talismans, guys, especially Lukaku, as KDB might not start and Hazard's form has been pretty poor. Now another incentive for captaining them is that both are on penalties as well, so that could mean extra attacking returns if that situation comes. Right now I have both of them, and out of the two, Lukaku is the preferred option, but Eriksen is also a good one in case you don't own Lukaku. Now guys, day 3 is also split between two choices, England's Harry Kane and Memphis Depay from Netherlands. Both players have been in red hot form for their clubs, guys, and are translating that form in recent international games as well. Depay has a slightly easier fixture, guys, and that combined with England's close results in recent games might just tilt it in the favour of the Dutch. Guys, there's no way that I'm saying that Kane is a bad option, but the call is just easier to make if you just own one of them. Let's talk about day 4 now, and it looks pretty straightforward. Poland plays Slovakia, and this could mean a few goals for the record-breaking Bayern striker Robert Lewandowski, who's Poland's main man, and he would be hoping for a better campaign than last time. Guys, he's probably had his best domestic season for Bayern Munich, and his 6 goals in the Euro qualifiers are proof that he's a good captaincy option for day 4. Again guys, let's hope that it doesn't come to this, but finally day 5, and we finish match day 1 with the easier game, Portugal versus Hungary. Now you could be spoiled for choices from Portugal, but the best option to go for is definitely Cristiano Ronaldo, who faces a pretty average Hungary defense. Though Ronaldo is very expensive, guys, this matchup might just make it worth it. He's Portugal's main attacking threat, and he's also on penalties, and that makes him a really appealing option. So guys, who will be your captain for match day 1? Let me know in the comments below. Great, so we've come to the final section of today's video, guys. Different chip strategies for the Euro 2020 fantasy game. Now guys, before we get into when to use the different chips in the game, just a refresher that there are 2 chips in the game. The first is Limitless. This gives you the option to change your squad for one match day only. When you play it, guys, you will get unlimited free transfers for that match day with no budget restrictions. Now once the match day is finished, your squad will return to how it was before you played the Limitless chip. The second chip in the game is the Wildcard. Now this chip gives you the chance to change your squad as much as you like. Guys, when you play it, you can make free unlimited transfers, and any players you transfer in, they will stay in your squad once the match day is finished. Of course, the normal rules for automatic substitutions, manual substitutions, and captain changes still apply when you're playing your wildcard. Now, there are a few ways to go about chip strategy, guys. Let's look at different match days and where and when you can use these 2 chips. Now, coming to match day 1, and I think it's pretty simple. You get unlimited transfers before the first game on the 11th or 12th June, again depending on your time zone. You can't use any of these 2 chips this week, so let's move on from this. We look at match day 2 now. If you feel you have a well-balanced squad to take the advantage of some easier fixtures this week, then you can go ahead without using a chip. The other way, guys, is to set up your team for match day 1 and 3 and then use the Limitless chip in match day 2. Using the Limitless chip, you can target fixtures like France versus Hungary, Spain versus Poland. You can also look at Netherlands versus Austria. Then there's another very punty fixture, which is Ukraine versus North Macedonia, and England's game is against Scotland. Guys, Limitless will help you do that, but targeting these only for 1 week and then reverting back to your old squad for matchday 3 with some transfers to navigate your matchday would be the right way to go. I would avoid using the wildcard this week, as with the wildcard, you'll have to keep the majority of the players for next week as well, and you would probably not want that. Now guys, depending on if you use any chip in matchday 2, you'll be left with some chip options. In case you've already used your Limitless chip in matchday 2, you can go in two directions. First is to use no chip and save your wildcard for the knockout stages, mainly quarterfinals and semifinals. Guys, this might not be a very aggressive strategy, but it will help you in the latter stages of the tournament. The disadvantage here is that with only 8 or 4 teams playing in the quarter or semis, the options to go for would be limited and your rank gain could be limited as well. Guys, the other option is to go all in and play the wildcard chip in matchday 3. The advantage here is that you get a chance to be a bit different from other managers and go for some differential picks. Keeping that in mind, you can target fixtures like Germany versus Hungary, Spain versus Slovakia. Guys, you can target England playing Czech Republic as well. Then Belgium is against Finland. Netherlands has a very easy fixture against North Macedonia, and Italy is playing Wales. Now, one concern you could have is that teams like Spain, Netherlands, Italy, and Belgium, they might be through by that time, and there could be some rotation. Again, guys, if these teams are actually through, then it is a guessing game for all of us in terms of who will start, but that's the chance you take. That also means the impact of this chip might get negated with heavy rotation, so that is something to look out for. The other downside to this move is that you won't have the chip for latter stages in the quarters or even the semis, and that could be an issue if we get some surprising results in the knockout stages. Guys, the final option is that you use the wildcard chip in the quarters or the semifinals. I think the quarterfinals should be a decent time to play this. You would definitely not want to play the Limitless chip here because the chip might help you with a great round, but for the next round, guys, you will be left with a lot of players from round 16 who are possibly not even in the tournament anymore. I'm personally going for the Limitless chip in matchday 2 and wildcard in quarterfinals for now. I'm pretty set in terms of the Limitless chip. The wildcard is not set in stone for now, and that could change in the future. Guys, do make sure you set up your teams keeping your strategy in mind. If you want to play safe, then Limitless in matchday 2 and wildcard in knockout stages makes more sense. On the other hand, if you like taking risks and want to attack more, then Limitless in matchday 2 and wildcard in matchday 3 is the way to go. That'll be all from my side, guys. I know this was a long video, but there was a lot to talk about. I hope you find all this information useful, guys. We'll be doing a deadline stream probably an hour before matchday 1 deadline, so do join us for that. Italy's lineup should be out by that time, and it's gonna be a lot of fun, guys. Guys, we'll also be posting more stuff on our Instagram channel, so please make sure you check all that good stuff. In case you want to look at our other players to target from every team, I've mentioned all the links of different videos in the description, so do check them out as well. Also guys, do remember to lock in your teams before the deadline. It'll be 11th or the 12th of June, depending on your time zone. Please check that in the app, or you can check that from the UEFA website as well. All the best for matchday 1, guys. I hope you really have a great week, and I'll see you in Saners next time.